So, as far as things have been going on Tweet Street, it's been pretty much just me talking about guy shit. And I feel like I should probably continue with that because, reception's been pretty good. So, I guess this episode I will include quite a bit of man talk, but I will want to call out one or two celebrities because it's been a while since I did that. And also, I am going to talk about friendships for a little bit because apparently people just can't understand platonic friendships. And I think it would probably be best if I deal with, I don't want to say the superficial shit first, but I will deal with the celebrity topics first before I get into the rest. And I want to start things off by talking about a lady that has pretty much become famous on Instagram or has remained relevant on Instagram because of couple goals. And the person that I speak of is none other than Ciara. Now, Ciara came out about a month ago and she had apparently made a song promoting the quote-unquote independent don't need a man lifestyle, and she decided to put that up on Twitter and like a bunch of different places. And the best part about it is people roasted the fuck out of her. Like, people did not want that shit, and personally I was so happy because this babe went ahead and tried to pull a Beyonce, and people went ahead and they were like, you know what, we didn't want this shit, take that shit back. Okay, let me start off by saying that I do not endorse or support cyberbullying. Neither do I like it when people go to their favorite content creators or artists and they go and they start speaking shit about the products that they've had if there is no constructive criticism. But this is one of the very, very few times when I sort of saw this happening and how Black Twitter was busy roasting her for this shit, and I was actually happy. Like, I'm usually not that malicious of a person, but I was actually happy because when people were kind of roasting her for it, and it was most of the babes who are like, yo, you're giving us the wrong kind of content. Us guys were busy asking for the prayer that you made to get this amazing seeming man that your current husband is. All right. And you're busy giving us songs on how to be independent and how we're supposed to feel good about that shit. We don't want that shit. And to be honest, I actually kind of agree with them. Being single, like dealing with the entire single life, saying that you don't need a man, like that shit is so washed out right now that whenever I hear babes saying such a thing, I'm like, I don't know who hurt you, but I hope you heal and you move on. And the reason I was saying that she pulled a Beyonce was Beyonce pulled this shit, I don't know, probably about somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago, where she did Single Ladies. She went ahead and she was like, all the single ladies, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Then she went ahead and she was like, to the left, everything that you own in the box to the left. But after all of this shit, she'd finish and she'd go back to Jay-Z, all right? She'd talk about, the single life, kicking out a dude. She went back to Jay-Z. Jay-Z supposedly cheated, and even after she made the Lemonade album, she still went back to the same dude. So you kind of look at it, Beyonce pulled that whole stunt and, it worked in her favor. And so I tend to think that maybe Ciara thought that babes nowadays are still as dumb or as uninformed as the babes back then. And, she maybe thought that, pushing for an independent women's song would probably still hit. And by all means, the song probably even sounds like a banger, but they wanted the prayer that she prayed that she used to get Russell Wilson, because she just said that she made a prayer and she had asked for a God-fearing man, and there were a bunch of details, and everyone's been asking for that prayer, or at least every lady has. And she decides to come up and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna release a song for independent women. Like, the last thing you are is independent, at least right now. Like, she be making her own money, but there's a dude that she still goes back to. And I'm happy that a lot of the babes came out and called out this hypocrisy. And considering that this won't be the only time when I actually throw some praise to the babes, I feel like this might actually be a pretty good episode. Although I probably should have started it in a more typical fashion with, with a nice intro and everything, so that people can know that the podcast has started when I say, welcome to Breaktime on West Side, your number one breakdown podcast, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. The man on the mic is a man who has now started going to the right. because clearly Beyonce's antics of going to the left will not work this time. He's a man who likes his women the same exact way he likes his yogurt. It is none other than your tall, dark, and mildly handsome man, Sir Denver B. The show is Tweet Street, the show where we take a deep dive into Twitter, pull up a couple of tweets and break them down a little bit. And as usual, if you know the drill, then you can repeat it after me. If you don't know the drill, it's okay. I usually like to say it because it almost sounds like a song, and it relates to how it is that you can be a contributor to the episodes that I usually produce. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these tweets, a lot of these opinions, they come from other people, and sometimes you just have to debate them because it might not entirely be right, or there might be something that goes unsaid about it. And it almost sounds like a song. It's a pretty simple drill, and it goes like this. You see that tweet, you like that tweet, you want us to discuss that tweet, you send that tweet. You send it to the DMs of @BagakaTheD, which happens to be my personal Twitter handle, and I will take it from there and handle it accordingly. On Facebook and on IG, if it happens to be a screenshot or a screen grab or ended up turning into a video or a reel that had a tweet, then the place to send it to is @BreakTime on Westside. On Facebook or on IG, the DMs are always open, and I would be more than happy to take it from there and handle it accordingly. Now, I have a bunch of tweets that relate to guys and friendships that I feel need to be discussed. Even though some things might feel like they're a bit repetitive, I feel like we just need to talk about them sometimes, and I will get into that. But before I do, we need to call out another celebrity, and her name is Blac Chyna. Now, for those of y'all that don't know who or what Blac Chyna is, it is not a place, it's actually a person. She used to be a stripper. She has become famous because she was one of those strippers who married a rapper who ended up getting a kid with him, and a bunch of shit after that. And if you have ever looked at the OnlyFans stats of the highest earners, she is actually the highest earner on OnlyFans, or at least she was the highest earner on OnlyFans. Now, she did come out recently to talk about how she has left the industry, or she pretty much quit her OnlyFans, stopped everything, and she is moving on. And I am going to play the clip where she mentions her quitting her OnlyFans. So here it is.
Like, for example, like, I don't do OnlyFans anymore.
At all?
I don't do it anymore at all.
With all the money you were making?
Yes.
You just shut it down?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because I'm just changing everything about me. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's a dead end. All that stuff is a dead end, and I know that I'm worth way more than that.
But why not just change up the content? Like, you have a beautiful body. You don't have to, OnlyFans nowadays, you don't have to really bust it open. You can go do a whole show with OnlyFans. You know that you can create a show.
Right. I did.
She's like, you're telling me what I already did. Thank you.
No, yeah, no. I feel like I have other things, bigger fish to fry. Mm-hmm. And then at the time I had so many things and lawsuits and this and that. It's like, whoa. But yeah, I'm good. Shout out to the people that do still have their OnlyFans and stuff like that. Get your money, don't let the money make you.
Okay. To be very honest, I feel like the best thing that she said was that she sort of felt dead inside. And, the other part where she said, go ahead and make the money, don't let the money make you. And, I'm totally up for that. It's just that when you're on OnlyFans, the money is making you. Let's be quite honest, because some of the things that you ask to do, like the very explicit things, there's usually added charges for that shit. So, in fact, it is a case of the bands making you dance, metaphorically, not literally speaking, at least not on every single one of those things. But to talk about it and say, don't let the money make you, like, when you're on OnlyFans and you're doing all of this shit, the money is pretty much making you do all of that shit. But all in all, I feel like her talking about how she chose to quit OnlyFans is something to be particularly interesting. Although, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like she chose to quit OnlyFans simply because she was tired of doing it and she's made enough money. Something that she probably failed to mention would probably work quite a bit. Of course, there's the lawsuits and everything, but you think about it for a quick second. This is someone who used to make $20 million a month on OnlyFans, a grand total of about $240 million a year. Now, let me just give you a bit of context for this. So, I work for a utilities company that has a grand total of, I guess, around 11,000 employees, spread across the country. And what we made, I think it was last year, if not 2021, like our combined total profit for the year was somewhere around 6 billion bob, which is actually about 60 mil US if you are looking at, the exchange rate somewhere around that time. Now, you look at what she made 4 times what a group of over 11,000 people, let me just correct that, over 11,000 people made in an entire year. She made that in 1 year. And she's been doing this for I don't know, probably about 3, maybe 4 years, if not more. So when you kind of think about it, she was a lot closer to $1 billion in terms of total earnings. So if anything, she's probably made enough money. If not, she's made too much money. The kind of money that she's made, she can afford to retire very comfortably, not engage in any social media, pretty much live a chilled out life and never have to worry about jack shit. So when I hear her saying that she's stopped it because she feels dead inside, I feel like most people who do OnlyFans at some point do feel dead inside. The only thing is they can't stop, or at least they choose not to stop, because if they stop, then the money will stop coming in. The employment opportunities now become very niche and they actually reduce quite a bit, because now having an OnlyFans has an entire stigma around it. And with all of that, the kind of value that you get from OnlyFans kind of becomes very hard to get elsewhere. So if anything, she's made enough money that she can afford to retire from the public life completely, and she can push whatever she wants and be pretty much unbothered. Or, and this is a very big or, she probably decided that with the whole baptism thing that she did the other day, that she's going to turn a new leaf and only shake those ass cheeks on Sunday whenever she's doing choir practice, singing and praising the Lord. Either way, I think she is one of the lucky few that has done OnlyFans that can move on from it. But I'm gonna leave it at that because I have tweets to discuss and I am going to move things on. So on to our very first tweet of this episode. I want to know how come we can never smash and stay friends. Okay, is this one very hard to explain? I feel like there's different ways of explaining it, especially on different sides of the gender scale. So I'll see if I can speak for the babes, even though yes, I know I don't have the requisite apparatus for it, but at least I can try and relate because I have spoken to a babe or two about it, and I will speak for the guys as well. Now, when you kind of look at babes who end up smashing the best friend, to be very honest, I tend to think that there's a couple of things that can come up. One, there's feelings, because if the both of you like it and dude was only interested in the smash, then it can become very awkward because you want more, this person isn't giving you more, and eventually you feel like you deserve better, blah, blah, blah. There's this entire roller coaster of emotions that can happen if you smash and one person catches feelings. And I'm not saying that it's just the babes that'll catch the feelings, even guys can catch the feelings, but with babes, if that doesn't happen, there's a very good chance that friendship is breaking down. Because imagine if you end up banging a guy that you call your best friend and he gives you shit sex. Not in a bad way, it's just that I've never really seen a babe have a good friendship with a guy after they've gotten shit sex from them. I don't know. The babes can probably tell me if this is a thing or not a thing, but whenever you bang a guy, and this is a guy that you know, and he gives you shit sex, don't you lose a little bit of respect for the dude? You kind of see them differently. You wouldn't want to give it to them again. They might have been good friends, but you never really look at them the same way again. And there's usually this lowering of respect or standards of the dude that's just there. And that kind of breaks down. Although, then again, now on the guy's side, if I banged my friend and it's a female friend, why wouldn't I be able to stay friends? One, there's the feelings part, because of course if she catches the feelings, then it becomes hard for us to kind of keep things going. If I catch the feelings, then obviously now that becomes a different discussion as well. And probably she might not be into it and that might not go anywhere. Then of course there's the other part of sex being a reward for us and us guys wanting it and it's not being much of a choice for us a lot of the time. And hell, the guy might be the type of guy that gets a lot of pussy, and as such this is someone that probably might not want to bang you all the time or might not ask for it a lot, but they still kind of will. If it's a guy that rarely ever gets pussy or hasn't gotten pussy in a long time, they might want to do it a hell of a lot more than the other guy, but they'll still want it just as bad, if not even more. And the thing is, if you, the babe, say no to me, the guy, or to some other guy, and you guys have done it the first time, and you say no a bunch of times, especially when you can see that this guy really wants it, like, there might be some feelings of resentment that will come up. And especially if you let other niggas hit. Like, there's gonna be that level of resentment that can crop up, and then, there's a lack of trust, lowering of honesty, lack of transparency, blah, 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 and shit just sort of breaks down. So, to be very honest, if you are banging your female friends, just make sure that the both of you can come back to the same point where you're like, whatever's happened, we're friends, and hopefully she might let you shag again when, she's not in a relationship and she gives you the chance. But all that said and done, I will leave it at that and I will move things on. So on to our very next tweet of this episode. Men, there are good women out there, although very few. If you get one, kindly don't fumble. Don't mistreat her. Don't make her hate men. Kindness and honesty goes a long way. I think it's a little hard to disagree with this one. Of course, like, it feels very, very self-explanatory to say, because of course, you wouldn't want to treat a really great person badly. And if someone is a genuinely good person, I think being the person that sort of wrecked them or turned them into a shitty person is probably something that a lot of people don't want to be. Or at the very least, you wouldn't want to be the villain in their story that turned them into this bad or this very hurt and broken person. So it makes absolute sense telling guys not to fumble with good women in that whole category of, dating and possibly being with them. Plus, there's the added disadvantage of you learning that your ways were wrong and then wanting to have something better with them, but they've moved on and they don't look at you the same way and they'll never really love you the same way again, which I'd say for a fact, like, with the few experiences I've had with babes, that shit kind of hurts to a certain degree and you can try and move on, but it's probably a lot better if you don't get yourself to that level. Although, all that said and done, and the fact that all of this is self-explanatory, I feel like there's something that people fail to actually state and to recognize, and that's the fact that sometimes, even though this is a good person, even though this is a great person for you to be with and to settle down with, sometimes it's just the wrong time. Let's be very honest, sometimes it's literally the wrong time. You might be in this position where you're all up in your, I'm single, I'm just trying to do me, bang a couple of babes here and there, I don't really feel like settling down, or I'm from a bad relationship, or I'm just from a relationship and I just want to enjoy being single for a bit, and there's this great person that really wants to be with you, and probably she even let you hit. But at the same time, you know very well that you're not at that stage. You know very well you're not ready to get into any more commitments, at least for a while. And this person wants to commit to you. This person wants to be with you. And that's one of those situations where you're like, even though this is a great person, we need to accept that sometimes it's just a case of bad timing. Like, they might want to be with you, they might be a great person, but sometimes you just have to accept that it's either you put aside whatever desires you have on the whole, wanting to enjoy the single life or wanting to abstain from dating for a bit and, get into this relationship and possibly regret it in the future, or you can kindly turn this person down, and in as much as they might look at you as a bad person, in as much as they may hate you, it's a lot better than you getting into some sort of a commitment with them when you weren't ready or you didn't want to be in a commitment and you end up screwing it up even worse in the later stages. That's just my thoughts on it. Although, then again, you might have your thoughts on it and you can tell those ones to me in the DMs and shit, but I am going to move it on to our very next tweet of this episode. Men, a man who says I married my favorite person or I married my best friend is a clueless soy man who has probably cashed out a bed-to-bed midfielder from the sex market. A man does not marry his friend. A man marries the right person. I don't know. Like, maybe it's just me that thinks this, but what if both of those things are actually the same person? Like, your best friend, you married your favorite person, and they were actually the right person. Like, has it ever occurred to some people that you don't have to treat all of this shit like it's black and white and there's like levels of gray that you have to go through in this? Because when someone's saying that, you shouldn't marry your friend, you're supposed to marry the right person, who is the right person? Like, that's kind of shit advice when you kind of think about it that way. Like, when you choose to marry your friend, actually, it's been said that a relationship with your best friend tends to last longer than your relationship with, say, a stranger or someone that you were introduced to that you didn't previously know. Like, when you kind of think about it, it actually does make sense for you to probably go ahead and marry your best friend as opposed to going and looking for a stranger, if that best friend is female, at least in this straight guy category and everything. But when you look at someone who's like, oh, you know, you don't marry your best friend, like, when you think about it, okay, remove the whole bed-to-bed midfielder thing, because this isn't a talk on sex and the fact that she's been screwed by all of these guys, blah blah blah. She may or may not have been screwed by dudes, for all we know, or the numbers might be high or low. Honestly, I don't think it matters in this particular scenario. I think it's a case of you asking yourself, is this person a good fit for marriage? If it's someone that you believe can make for a great mom or a great wife, or even both a great mom and a great wife, then I think whether they classify as your best friend or your favorite person is sort of irrelevant. And I think that probably was the context that was being pushed in this entire message. But saying that it shouldn't be your friend or it shouldn't be your favorite person is probably wrong. It can be, but just because it's your best friend or your favorite person doesn't mean that they will make for the right person to be with or the best partner to be with. I think that's probably the better advice to give here. And with that said, I think I have room for like one more tweet just to throw in here. So on to our very final tweet of this episode. Men, avoid or minimize female friends. They bring nothing, and I mean nothing, to the table. Bullshit. I don't even know if I have to think this one through or I really have to discuss it too much, but bullshit. I think if this was the mentality that a lot of guys would have had from the beginning, then there's a lot more of us men that wouldn't have gone as far as we probably have in the current day and age that we have right now. Because women actually do have their benefits. I think when you think about it, it is very easy to mistake female friendships, genuine platonic female friendships, with being in the friend zone, which is an entirely different thing. And there you can say there is nothing, or at least there's very little that you're getting on the table as a guy. But you look at genuine female friendships, like I can tell you from my own personal experience, I have gained a lot. I have gained an actual lot. Some of which has helped me on this podcast, some of which has helped me in life. Because if it wasn't for female friendships, I don't think I'd have the sort of feedback and, you know, a lot of the downloads and plays that I'd get on this podcast. If it wasn't for female friendships, I wouldn't have been on TV and I wouldn't have co-produced a show that's on TV. I wouldn't have met someone that I'm working on a pilot for another show that I'm supposed to push on TV. If it wasn't for me meeting up with one of my female friends, I don't think I'd have met one of the few guys that I feel can be a great mentor right now. If it wasn't for female friendships, I don't think I'd have gotten the current job that I do have. Like, I can go on and on about the ways in which I've been assisted just by having good female friends. Hell, even on this podcast, the whole talk of, you know, women choose their own baby daddies and you know how to take care of yourself when you're at the club. I learned that shit from women. It's not like I learned it from dudes. I learned that shit from women. So to talk about it and say that, you know, female friendships bring nothing to the table, that's absolute bull. If you're talking about the friend zone, then it probably makes a hell of a lot more sense, because at that point you'll be doing a lot more giving and a lot less receiving. And that would make sense if you said, you know what, minimize those or have none of them because they bring nothing to the table. And I get that. You know, there's very little that the friend zone can give you besides maybe a friend, and maybe in very rare occurrences, the babe lets you shag and or decides that she wants to be with you. Like, when you look at the friend zone in that case, then probably it makes sense to make such a statement. But female friendships, I never underrate those things because they have been important, hell, just as important as my male friendships. But if you do feel like they lack importance, then you can hit me up on the DMs because they are open. At Bagaka the D on Twitter is where you can reach me at. On Facebook or on IG, the place to hit me up at is at Breaktime on Westside. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.